Film is a medium that transports. All I have to do is pop myself in front of the TV to watch a movie, and I can just enjoy it, whatever place the film takes me to.
Movies have always been an escape. It gives you a whole new world to be in.
I have a rekindled love affair with movies.
This episode of Real to Real Talk. I am Sergio Barrera, and it is time once again for us to get together to talk movies and cinema. Joining me as always are Susan Chisholm and Paul Britton, our Real to Real Talk team. Guys, how are you doing? Welcome to this next episode.
Doing good. Good morning.
Yeah, I am your intrepid field reporter today.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm waiting for the for that sort of boom camera shot to come and accidentally dip into the picture, you know. But yeah, so here we are once again, ready to talk movies, and we have had a fairly consistent set of themes that we've utilized, series, I guess you'd call them, here on the show. And just a few weeks ago, even though this is our second time only on video, we will be continuing with the series that we started on our audio podcast, which still exists, by the way. We'll talk more about that in a bit. And our theme this week, or series that we're going to continue, is a look at Best Picture winners that we'd not seen before. One of the great, I think, consistent overarching themes of our show team has been that this project has enabled us to watch movies that we haven't seen, in addition to talking about, you know, films that we're familiar with, genres or directors we're familiar with. It also opens the floodgates, so to speak, for us to be able to find new things. And I'm really excited about this particular episode because I found a film that I'm hoping is going to surprise both of you. And it just really made me happy to, you know, discover a film that I was like, why don't I recall this? And we'll talk about that when it's time. But with that in mind, as we get started with this conversation, when it comes to Best Picture winners, I know some of us are more involved in sort of the Oscar season year to year. But what are some movies, what are some films in your estimation that as you went to make a decision this time around, what are some films that you looked at and thought, man, I wish I hadn't seen that one yet because that would be fun to talk about? Just curious, you know, what movies what Best Picture winners you've seen that you wish we could have talked about.
Paul should go first on this one.
Okay, it's interesting because I actually did have something like that because American in Paris, because I watched that like 2 or 3 months ago when HBO Max came out. It was the first movie I watched on HBO Max, and I had never seen it. I was like, oh, American in Paris, awesome. And so I played it, and then like when I was looking through the list of Best Picture winners, I was like, oh, I could have done American in Paris. So, you know, one of the funny things about this podcast is a lot of times I'll watch a movie and think, oh, should I have saved this for a segment? But, you know.
It's funny how our minds work now, where we think in terms of, you know, segments or series that we've been doing. So yeah, that's really cool. So Susan, you know, as you've been broadening the scope of films you've watched, I know that you and I have had discussions off air regarding Best Picture winners and so forth. Are there any films that you yourself have seen and would have thought, man, that would have been a great one to talk about?
Well, there are a lot of great movies on the list. Obviously, like they're on the Oscar winner list for a reason.
Sure.
But given my limited experience with watching movies, I've managed to kind of avoid some of them, most of them. So that was actually a funny story about how you know, when we get started on this, how this particular choice came to be on this episode. So I mean, yeah. It's an interesting story.
So for those who are watching for the first time, the idea for this particular series is that we look at the overall, you know, width and breadth of Best Picture Academy Award winners over the years, and we can go back as far back as the 1930s, I believe, and because Wikipedia is our friend. and basically pick a film that won Best Picture that we had never seen before, so that we have a chance to discuss our thoughts on it. And if if we're able to and wish to, part of the conversation team can be, how did this movie stack up against the rest of the nominees of that year? Just because every year, especially since they started going to, 9 or 10 nominations, Paul? We had that in the early 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, and then it went to 5 nominees, and then around about 2009, I believe, they brought back
it was actually very early that they had the whole bunch of nominees. It changed over in the sometime in the 40s.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah, and then they brought it back to its ruts.
Yeah, which someday we could talk about how we feel about that, because I think it's too many. But the idea being, this, whatever film we're bringing to the table, we're saying, okay, I wasn't familiar with it. It won Best Picture, and here are the merits that I think it brought, or maybe it didn't. And so I'm interested to see where we land today. So we'll start with Susan. She'll talk about her selection. I'll take the second spot, and then Paul will close us out on this opening segment of this week's episode. So Susan, I'll turn it over to you. What movie did you discover Best Picture winner you hadn't seen before?
So I want to tell you first about my process for selecting my Academy Award winning movie.
Is it a poster you threw a dart at?
Kind of. What I had done was I broke down the list from IMDb, and I had written off to the side which years I had seen, which movies I had seen the winner for that year. And
so it was 3. There were 3 movies on your list. Continue.
There were 7.
Oh, my bad.
I know, but 7 out of what 70 years?
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing was I typed out all the years into an Excel spreadsheet, and I randomized the list, and I was sitting across from my husband, and I was like, give me a number between 1 and 48. And he's like, 37. And I looked down, 37 was year 2008. So I watched the 2008 Academy Award winning movie Slumdog Millionaire.
Nice.
Which was awesome. I loved it. It's directed by Danny Boyle. It has a number of, the cast is mainly not, they're not American. They're mostly from India and Pakistan, that area. And the story is essentially of a boy who goes on, a young adult that goes on to India's version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And it goes into how he knows these answers of all of these questions. Yeah. Because as you watch the even American version, you said some of the questions are just really, really like off the wall trivia. Like, how would anybody know that answer? And so especially for someone who, with his background, which is growing up very, very poor, growing up in the slums of India, and some of the questions are just, they're like, someone with your background probably should know the answer to that question. So when the movie starts, when it opens, you see him in a police station, basically they're trying to beat it out of him, essentially. How did you know these answers? How did you cheat? What did you do? And all this other stuff. And it breaks down, and they sit him down and go through question by question, and they show the different life experiences that this young man has had to get to the knowledge that he has. The movie was, bits and pieces were heartbreaking. I was sitting there on the couch. I had to break it into 2 hours because it was 2 hours long. So first hour that I watched, and then I had to wait until the next day to catch the rest of it, just because I was just a little bit. There were points that I was sitting on the couch, like this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh no 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 no! Or like, oh, God damn it again! You know, the truth is like the number of times that he went through these different situations where the cause of the issue that he was having was his brother. I mean, just the moments of heartbreak in that movie are all caused by his brother, and it's like, but why? Why do you keep,
No.
you know? And it's just, you know, and of course, it ends up being a happy ending of the movie, but up until the very last scene of the movie, you know, the suspenseful climax, you know, when she's running for the phone, and in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, she's gonna get hit by a car. Okay, they're supposed to meet in the train station. She's gonna get hit by a train. It's gonna be tragic. It's gonna end tragically. And it didn't, which is great. Oh, thank goodness, because I was sitting there like, oh, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
And then there's a
Oh,
dance number.
oh, okay.
There's a
Yeah,
dance number, yeah.
exactly. It was, you know, it ends up being good, and it ends up being really cute. It's just like I watched it, um, uh, kind of Friday night into Saturday. It's Friday night into Saturday morning, um, and you know, it's been on my mind, and I've been thinking about it, just the different ways. It's like you know, the small little details that they put into the movie, the little flashbacks that they go back and forth.
Mhm.
Usually that's not something that's not a style of movie that I like, where they will show something going on and then flash back to how I got here, then they flash back to what's going on in real life, and they go back and forth. Sometimes I just have a difficult time following it sometimes. And I know that, like, Sergio and I, we've talked about that whole typical the shtick where you start and it says 3 days earlier, or you know, it
Yeah.
kind of goes back to that. So it's a similar theme for me. And I can't, the back and forth between present day and in the past is usually a pretty rough one for me. But I think that the way that they executed it here,
Mhm.
going, like, breaking it down question by question by question, how he knows all these answers, that to me was really really great.
Yeah.
The actors that they chose, um, are all, I mean, they all did a fantastic job of playing, like, you know, the character Dev Patel, I mean, the actor Dev Patel played Jamal as an
Mhm.
older, you know, as an adult. He played the perfect terrified and totally awkward 18-year-old kid. Um, you know, and you just, everybody kind of just hit it right on. Um, in my opinion, I think that the way that they shot it, in everything, that the scenery and the attention to detail in the scenery, and the attention to detail in all the little scenes, and you know, it's not really a violent movie per se. They allude to violent things that happen because,
Mhm.
you know, in the slums, it's not all, you know, ice cream and roses. So
Yeah.
um but I think the way that they executed keeping you from seeing those really violent acts, they kind of like blurred the screen a little bit, and you know, made it to where you're just kind of like, you're just along for the ride. So that was really good. I really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah. It's such a fantastic watch. It goes everywhere from a look at the caste system in India, and how a country is so divided based on their wealth level and so forth, all the way to being this celebration of Bollywood. It's a Danny Boyle is an amazing director, and I was very pleased to see this film win when it did, because it just has the Barkapalooza, as you guys can hear. They loved it too, because they've had to see it with me. So yeah, no, Danny Boyle's work, directing this film, not only was brilliant, but everything from the casting, everybody he chose to be part of this production team executed on such a high level.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Paul, when you first saw it, I'm always curious, Paul, when you see things. So did you see this in theaters?
I did not, no, actually. And this was, my son would have been, 1, 2 when this came out. So that's when I started like not being able to go to movies as much as I would like. And so no, I did not see this in theaters, but as soon as it was available, I went and sought it out and found it, and I did really love it. It's a total schmaltzy feel good movie. It's one of those that if you go to the hoity-toity movie boards on Facebook or whatever, gets no respect. It's like, oh, well, Slumdog Millionaire. Blah. And then I went and I looked at the other movies that were up that year, and just from a standpoint of, movie-going experience and great storytelling and, and everything.
Yeah.
I would still vote for this, much like your last one where it was where you picked the Shakespeare in Love, Susan, which Sergio and I liked a lot, but also gets not well thought of by the hoity-toities. But I personally loved and would vote for again. I would vote for Slumdog. Like that's the one I would, if I had seen all 5 pictures when they came out. It's still the one I would vote. I would want to see win, because it just there's nothing wrong with being feel good, I don't think. But I'm certainly in the minority and in the among the movie nerd populace on that.
I'm trying to see. So then this would have been in the 2009 ceremony.
The only one that I see that I would be like, okay, that makes sense, is Frost Nixon. Actually, I didn't see the reader, so I have no idea what the reader's about. It also, so is Frost Nixon, Milk, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and the reader, and Slumdog Millionaire. And like Milk is okay. Not it's not that's Sean Penn, but the story is whatever. Frost Nixon was really good. Like, so Frost Nixon, I'd get like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And A Curious Case of Benjamin Button's not for me. It's a total movie that I should love, but for whatever reason, the execution just didn't work for me. So, so if it was Frost, like it would be, for me, it would be between Frost Nixon and Slumdog Millionaire. And in the end, I have no qualms with giving it to the movie that makes me feel good. You know?
Well, and the thing about Frost Nixon is it's all one level.
This was the year Dark Knight. So why do we now have 10 nominees? Because of Dark Knight. Why we have 10 nominees is because Dark Knight did not get a nomination. And so they decided, and it was a travesty, and quite frankly, if Dark Knight had been nominated, that one would have gotten my vote.
It could easily have won.
So so that's why we have 10 nominees now, is to get these movies that don't necessarily cater towards the older audiences that just like but would cater towards the bigger base of both.
It's funny because as you say that, I recall that not specifically that there was about the Dark Knight, but the fact that there was this sort of backlash of there's so many films that get left out,
right? Because the nominating populace is not the voting populace for these. And so the nominating populace tends to be the old guard. Yeah. And so that's why you kept seeing these, Frost Nixon, Milk, Slumdog Millionaire, Curious Case of Benjamin Button, The Reader. The only 2 movies on there that anybody under 40 would have been like, yeah, I got to go see that, is Slumdog Millionaire and The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. And quite frankly, Benjamin Button didn't work. It was highly anticipated, but it didn't get as large of a reception as when it was anticipated. But the Dark Knight was the reason why we now have 10. So there you go.
Got it.
I love it when I accidentally tie things together. Like I don't remember if we were talking about that before we started recording, or if that was part of the conversation that was already on air with us. But like when we were talking about the number of nominees per year, and I just did it on accident.
No, it's cool. It's great.
It's not the first time that something like that's happened where I've accidentally I think actually the last time we talked about Academy Award winners when I did Shakespeare in Love. There was something else about that. It was
It was the first time they started doing the advertising, like like basically
the big
Where they lobbied for it.
Miramax bought the Best Picture Actor
Yeah.
Academy Award, and like it was that movie where they started doing that, and it was like, yeah.
I love that movie.
Subconsciously, I am pulling together conversation points.
You're a lightning
Look at
rod
me.
for Academy Award miasma.
Let's see
Well-
what happens next time.
So the one question I do have, Susan,
Yeah.
because this movie is one of my absolute favorites. I love this film. I mean, all the way down to the last, traditional Bollywood dance number at the end. I mean, you can't help but, the song is called Jai Ho. It is fantastic. The visuals of the whole dance sequence are amazing. Sometimes I'll just pull up the dance sequence on YouTube just to watch it.
Mhm.
Susan, at some point, and I know you alluded to this, but I really, one of the things that you've always shared with us is that there are certain things that you are comfortable with or not comfortable with in film. This movie was not an easy watch for you, I imagine, given the sequence of the kids growing up. What was it that, from a storytelling standpoint, that kept you connected and really, really had you, immersed in?
I think that it was a lot of the emotional attachment to Jamal and how the different things that he experienced. Obviously, I've got siblings. We pick on each other. That's clear. But I've never, of course, never had anything as drastic, I guess, is what he went through. But
Right.
the
Really?
different the emotional like ties together, and the different situations that he went through, like really like from the okay. The moment that Salim took his autographed picture and stole it to the cinema guy, I was like,
You knew. Yeah.
I was like, I am so I feel really badly for him, and I was just drawn in. I was like, he's my friend. I'm the little sister, by the way, and my big sister is amazing. Of course, now as an adult, we've gotten together a lot, but we used to pick on each other, but never to that extent.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
she never would have done that.
She never sold your
me.
stuff.
Nothing
You have to
important
think
to
about
me. Nothing important to me.
Yeah.
That's a story, but later on. Yeah, I love my sibling. I do. I love my sibling.
Different podcast.
Yeah. And today
Well-
on why are we broken adults? No, I'm just kidding. My sister's amazing. Becca, I love
Well-
you.
Yeah, this whole movie has what I call the Jenny effect, Jenny from Forrest Gump, where you keep getting back to that person, and you're like, again, this person did this again, and so it's of course it's the overarching theme throughout the entire film. The kids in this film are phenomenal that play the roles. And they were highly recognized when, around award season and so forth. And I don't mean by awards, but, well, I think if I remember correctly, it did win the SAG Award for cast. And there was just a lot said about these children and how talented they were and just how perfect this movie was cast. And so, yeah, it gave us Dev Patel. I mean, he's a treasure. So.
Yes.
Well, and it did win 8 Academy Awards that year. So there's so many things that it did.
Yeah.
But like you were saying though, that the if you call it the Jenny effect, like she in the movie, Latika says to him, "Why do you still believe in Salim?" Like after everything, and it's like,
Yeah. I love that film. So.
It was great, and I liked the redemption at the end.
Yeah.
Where he's
Plus the
finally
host of the show is such a slimeball. So.
I know.
So beautifully played. And
all I
I
could
wish
think of was like that shiny jacket. I need that shiny jacket. I don't know where I wear it.
Shiny jacket.
Yeah. I have to see, what was his name? The actor is phenomenal. Anil Kapoor. Anil Kapoor. He's one of those actors you see here and there, and he was one of my favorite in that film. It's just the way he hams up his role as the host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So, all right, wonderful start to this particular time around the Best Picture winners we hadn't seen before. So I'm going to take you guys to 2012. I had intended to go further back in history to see, a movie from maybe the 40s or 50s, see what's out there and available. But I couldn't because as I went backwards, my eye caught a title that actually made me go, how have I not heard about this? Like, where was I? Because every year we've talked about how I'm really, paying attention to award season and I try to watch all the films that are nominated. And I don't know what happened in the year leading up to the 2012 ceremony because the nominees that year were The Descendants, The Artist, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, Moneyball, which is one of my absolute favorite pictures. I see it so often. Midnight in Paris, War Horse, The Tree of Life, Hugo, and The Help. And the winner that year was a movie called The Artist. And for whatever reason, as I was going through my decision process of what to see and what to bring to the table, I thought, why is it that I've not heard of this film? So I did what I do, and I went and looked it up, and I ran the trailer, on Prime. And I was immediately captivated by the notion that this is a silent film. I have to ask you, Paul, have you seen The Artist?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And Susan, I'm imagining that it's probably going to be on your list. I hope it'll be on your list after we talk about it.
Okay.
This film, so the shtick with this movie is that it is it harkens back to the silent film era of the late 1920s. Really what was at that point, 1927 through 29, was sort of the swan song of the silent film. Mm-hmm. And the entire film, well, for the most part, the entire film is silent. It's music. The music is what carries the film and really takes you on the ride. It won Best Picture in my opinion, for so many reasons. It's difficult to imagine driving a film with no dialogue, with no sound other than music. But this is what films used to be. And so the movie itself was amazing. I'd never heard of it, but it has elements that intrigue me. First of all, it's in total black and white for the entirety of the film. It is, again, a silent film. There are key moments in the movie in which sound plays a role, where you can hear, certain sounds. And again, this is 2011, so if you haven't seen it by now, oh well. And there is a section at the end where you finally hear dialogue. And let me tell you that by the time I got to that point, this movie had taken me on such an emotional ride that when I'm getting all choked up thinking about it, that when the dialogue finally played out and you could hear the actor, who was the main character, I literally teared up because it had been such a wonderful experience from beginning to end. So the story of The Artist is the story of a man who is the sort of the dashing leading man character of the silent film era. His name is George Valentine, is the name of the character. And he's very famous. He's quite the schmoozer. And he encounters Peppy Miller, who is sort of accidentally plays, or falls into this notion of stardom by sort of stumbling into him during an early portion of the film and kind of hamming up their interaction. And before you know it, the world is like, who's that girl? And Peppy Miller, the character, her career rises as George Valentine's career begins to ebb and diminish because of the introduction of sound into films. And so she becomes part of the very first sound, or the very first film that uses sound. And he's of the guard that's, that it's a phase, it'll pass. The silent film won't go away. This is film. And so it's an interesting story to see how the relationship dynamic plays out. I really want people to see it, so I'm trying not to give too much away. But it is, along with Susan, it is a feel-good ending.
And there's a dog.
And there's a dog. Oh my goodness! I'm so glad that there was a dog.
I don't know how you got this far without mentioning the dog.
No. So the reason that I finally broke was because there's a sequence toward the end where the dog is just, so George has a dog, and he not only does he appear in his films with him as one of his sidekicks or his sidekick, the dog plays a very important role throughout the entire film. And you're seeing all of the different actions that the dog takes. He plays dead, or he runs around, or he's just there in key moments. And so in the last 20 minutes, the dog plays a huge role in the story itself, to the point where I was like, I'm gonna cry at some point. And the only reason I got to, it took me till the end, was because the sound was the trigger for me to be like, I've held this in too long. And so, yeah, it's a beautiful film. It is so beautifully done. And I was, again, amazed at the fact that I'd not heard of it at all. The movie or actually, before I even get to the director, Jean Dujardin, who's a French actor, won Best Actor for this film. Just an amazing actor. Penelope Ann Miller plays his wife, and she's in a couple of key scenes. And again, I'm sitting there looking at going, I remember her from way back, And it's just a wonderful cast. John Goodman is in it. It's such a beautifully done film. And Bernice Bejo is the actress who plays, actor who plays Peppy Miller. She was born for this era of filmmaking, because she really has, when you think of movies of the late 20s, early 30s, you think of a certain way in which actors carried themselves and played their roles. And she was just such a perfect portrayal of this age. In fact, you forget, if you really allow the movie to take you, you forget that it was a film that was done in 2011. I mean, it really feels like an old-timey, silent film. The director is Michelle Michelle Hazanavicius is the director, who was responsible for this film. He won Best Director for the work that he did on it. And I just can't say enough about what a treat it was to find a movie that won Best Picture that I hadn't seen, and be so taken by it to the point where I was driven to that year's list of nominees. And I thought to myself, how did I not recall most of this list? I mean, I recall War Horse, I recall Moneyball. I wasn't even bothered by the fact that it beat Moneyball, because I love that movie so much. But I don't know if maybe people might say, and Paul, this is where, maybe you and I will differ. It just doesn't seem like a strong list of nominees that year. I mean, again, do you recall 2012 and feeling any sort of way about the nominees?
So you bring up an interesting point, and this is another movie that, like, basically movie nerds hate just about everything the Academy has done since 1990. So if it won Best Picture and it came after 1990, there's a 9 out of 10 chance that the movie nerds hate it, and the one that won was their least favorite option, and blah 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 blah. This is one of those movies. But this is a classic. The Academy rewards itself, where the Academy tends to like voting for movies about movies. That's just what they like to do. And so this was an instance of that, people say. Look, Hugo is my favorite Martin Scorsese movie.
Okay.
I'm not afraid to say it. And that's a very not popular pick, but it's just reality. I love it so much.
It's not The Irishman?
No. And The film nerds loved Moneyball. Like Moneyball was just a really popular movie among people that, among people who love cinema and film. But The Artist is really good. Like I didn't see The Artist until probably like a year ago. Like it's very recent that I finally got around to seeing The Artist, and I watched it and I was like, no, I see why this won. Like and honestly, the sort of negative response to it was part of the reason why I didn't see it right away. Because normally, more recently, if something wins, I'll make an effort to go see it and or to find it out if I didn't happen to see it in the theater. And this was one that I just for a long time did not seek out. And I regretted that because I agree with you. I mean, it's a really touching movie, but I also understand the criticism of it. So the criticism of it is, first of all, I liked this movie the first time I saw it when it was Singing in the Rain. So it's like, okay, that that's kind of fair. The conceit of the movie is not entirely new. But this is something that was done in the 40s and 50s. So it's like the only reason why it's new is because it was new to audiences today. Right. Even Sunset Boulevard, has a little bit of that. We didn't need dialogue; we had faces. So it's just, that whole thing, the whole conceit of former silent movie star loses his or her place in the world of talkies. And so that's not a new conceit. It's just like, so this is winning just because it's doing something that a million movies already did. But and that's valid. And also they hate the schmaltz, and this definitely, like, honestly, you guys picked two of the schmaltziest winners that you could possibly. I mean, just absolute, like, here are your heartstrings. I'm going to just pull on them and pull on them and pull on them and see what happens. But yeah, so. Yeah. But I love it was I really liked it. It is well worth the watch. But you can't be looking at your cell phone because there's no dialogue to go. You have to,
the dialogue boards come up.
Like, put the cell phone down, watch the movie. There's no distractions allowed.
Well, it's funny you say that because I didn't. I did. I started out with my phone in hand because, again, as I watch, I like to research and read.
Yes.
But real quickly, you realize that's a mistake because I must have rewound 2 or 3 times in the first probably 40 minutes, and I'm like, okay, I need to put my phone down.
Yeah, me too.
In fact, it was funny because, Susan, you'll know this, you messaged me. I asked, have you seen your movies yet? And you're like, have you? And I was like, maybe. And I was literally mid-film. And that was, and right after we had that brief exchange, I missed another dialogue board, and I was like, I need to put my phone down. Like, this has to, I've got to pay attention.
Yeah, no, you have to be fully invested in this movie. You really, it's not, and that's the thing is there's not a lot of movies anymore that make you fully invest. And but this one does.
Well, cool. Now I feel like I was the big jerk that was distracting you because I think I had asked you. I had to ask you a question about it. So. Okay. I was just like, maybe.
But yeah, I'll tell you, if anyone had ever told me that the line "it would be my pleasure" would make me cry, I'd be like, no way. But it really does. So Susan, add this to your list. The Artist, 2012's Best Picture winner.
Yeah. Where did you watch it? Where did you watch it?
It's on Netflix. It's available on Netflix.
Okay.
So, fantastic movie. All right. Well, it has been a schmaltz fest so far, Paul. I'm very curious to see where we go next.
I will be ending that immediately. So, since you guys both went into how you found your movies, I will go into my way too. So, originally when we started doing this, my thought was I'm going to just kind of go backwards, but that worked out because I really had wanted to see Moonlight. That's the movie I did previously. I really wanted to see Moonlight, so I just started like, I'm going to start there. But then the next one on my list was one that I didn't want to see. Like, it's just one that I know what it's all about. I know how it ends. it's $1 Million Baby. That's not what we're gonna do. So,
Oh.
but I have no interest in seeing $1 Million Baby. I
Really?
know I have to see it eventually,
Yeah.
but I don't like boxing at all.
Okay.
Like, there's just no part of me that's like, ooh, boxing. And I know how it ends, so it's kind of like, you know, and so I was like, okay, well, I'll skip that one and keep going backwards. And then I got into the 80s, and I'm like, oh.
You went pretty far.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's true. Like that, so that's how many, you know, so from Slumdog Millionaire, it goes to Terms of Endearment. And I'm like, no.
No.
Like, I mentioned to Susan on her list. I don't like 80s pure drama movies.
Yeah.
They have a feel. They're just so serious and so plotting. They have a tone that just it's effort. It is just an absolute effort to get through those movies. And I was like, I don't want to put through I just started a new job. No, I'm not doing I don't have the energy for Terms of Endearment, and then I went back another one, or Ordinary People, and then I went back another one, or Kramer versus Kramer. Like, oh, fuck this. So I was like, what are we gonna do? So I went online. Long ago I went through a list of, like, you know, I did a search of the, you know, ranking the best pictures, and there was a website that ranked the best picture winners based solely off of their Rotten Tomatoes scores. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense to me. And so, like, I went and sought that out, and I was like, I'm gonna just look in the top 5 and pick one that I would want to do. And so in the top 5 was a Billy Wilder movie, and Billy Wilder is Hollywood royalty, you know, just not arguably, but universally understood as one of the best filmmakers of all time, you know. And so here's this Billy Wilder movie that I honestly had never even heard of, and the movie's called The Lost Weekend. And yeah, I know, it was made in 1945, so the Oscar year was 1946. The only other movie nominated in 1946 that I'd ever even heard of was Anchors Away, which is the Gene Kelly musical where he dances with Jerry of Tom and Jerry. I haven't seen that. And the other 3, I'd heard of Bells of St. Mary before, and then the other 2 I don't even remember, even though I, like, literally looked at it right before we started this. But so Lost Weekend is Billy Wilder. It stars Ray Milland and Jane Wyman. Ray Milland is an alcoholic. He's a writer, and he's an alcoholic, and he's planning a trip with his brother, who's played by Philip Terry, but is only in the movie very briefly. He's a recovering alcoholic. He's been dry for 2 weeks, like literally 2 weeks. And his brother's like, okay, you know, they live in New York City. He lives with his brother. His brother basically is his enabler, and, you know, pays for all his bills. But then his brother 2 weeks ago said, I'm cutting you off. I'm not doing this anymore. I've told all the bars and all the liquor stores in the neighborhood, you can't be on, your credit's no good any longer. You're going to have to pay up. And he doesn't have any money. And Jane Wyman plays his girlfriend. And and so what ends up happening is that Ray Milland finds money in the house and is able to go to a bar and get drunk, and then misses the train to go away with his brother. And so it's the Lost Weekend it's a lost weekend for him. He you know, after 2 weeks of sobriety, he goes on a horrible bender, purposefully. So he plays a guy named Don Burnham, and Jane Wyman plays Helen St. James, is, you know, purposefully evading Helen the entire time, just like is constantly having to hop around and avoid places where she would know that he is. And it's just, it's absolutely heart-wrenching. I mean, it's just it is the classic, Leaving Las Vegas would be the closest to, I don't know, Sergio, if you've seen Leaving Las Vegas. No. Okay, so it's Leaving Las Vegas. It really is. Except that, instead of Robin Wright playing sort of another person that's, on her way down, the girlfriend in this case is just somebody who loved the wrong person, and it's tragic, and and it's sad, and it really is sad. I mean, it's just heart-wrenching. Billy Wilder, I mentioned Sunset Boulevard. He's done Sunset Boulevard. He's a master, Double Indemnity, Sunset Boulevard, The Apartment, Some Like It Hot. But the breadth of movies that Billy Wilder does are amazing, and this just slots right in the spectrum. And that's the wonderful thing about Billy Wilder is it's not like this is where he is, like where Stanley Kubrick is here, and maybe, and Martin Scorsese is here. These are the movies that they make. Billy Wilder's like, just fucking pick anything, and you'll find a movie that fits somewhere in there, and this is it, and this is another version of that, and I mean, it's amazing. So Ray Milland did win the best actor for this as well. Never nominated again. Never, didn't win anything. Didn't win anything again. The interesting, when I was researching him, I had never even heard of him. Like the name didn't have name recognition to me. But if we were in live in the 40s, he would have had huge name recognition because he was the #1 film star for Paramount Studios. So like if Paramount had a picture, they were putting fucking Ray Milland in because he was going to sell. People were going to go see a movie just because of Ray Milland. And I looked at his filmography, and like he's in a lot of movies that I just never have heard of before. But he's in a lot of movies. And then in the 70s, he starts showing up in, films to keep working. So you might know him from The Thing with Two Heads, where it's Rosie Greer. A rich white guy attaches his head to Rosie Greer. Have you ever, Sergio, seen snippets of that? No?
I haven't.
Okay. Yeah, and but he was also in Escape to Witch Mountain. So I
do recall that film, yes.
Okay, Susan? No? Okay, it's a Disney film. So like when I saw he was in that, I was like, oh my God, it's the guy from Escape from Witch Mountain. And so, yeah. But Jane Wyman. It's interesting because I was like, Jane Wyman, how do I know that name? Because it didn't click anything, and then I remembered when in Back to the Future, Doc Brown, Marty says, Doc Brown says, who's the president in 1984? And he's like, Ronald Reagan. He's like, oh, Ronald Reagan, huh? And then he's like, so I suppose Jane Wyman is the first lady. And so it's like, okay, cool. But Jane Wyman herself has like multiple Best Actress wins for pictures, for actually just one winner, multiple nominations. She won for Johnny Belinda, which I've never heard of. But so there you go. So, but yeah, Lost Weekend. It does have, well, I won't give away the ending. I mean, it doesn't even matter, but it's just, it's, if you want to just be kind of like dragged through the mud for an hour and a half, it's worth it. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
The movie does flashbacks of, how he met Helen, and, how he came to be living with his brother Wick, and how his brother came to, support his horrible drinking habit, and, he's been dry before for periods of time, and how he falls off the wagon in the past. It's really good. It's really good. Yeah.
I need to go back to that era of films and start, really, really watching some of those. And it was funny because it's funny you did that, because that was my intent this time around. And I ended up watching a movie about a film type of that, of that era or earlier. But great choices all the way around. So if you haven't seen The Artist or Lost Weekend or Slumdog Millionaire, folks, are these all, I imagine, all available on streaming? I know mine was on Netflix. Susan, where was yours available to stream?
It was on I'm gonna say HBO. The add-on with Prime
Okay.
Video.
Gotcha. And Paul, I know it's available on Prime for a cost, but where did you find it?
I rented it on Prime.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Starting at $3.99 if you're interested. At least right now, The Lost Weekend is available on Prime for purchase or for rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew this isn't one that I was going to go back to, so I rented. I did not pay. Normally, I'll pay the extra $2 or $3 to buy, because usually if it's rented for $3.99, you can buy it for $7.99 or something like that.
Yeah.
And frequently, I'll chip in the extra few bucks. But this one, I was like, I don't know. Obviously, I knew what the movie was going to be about, and I don't think I'm going to want to revisit this one.
Gotcha.
But I was so happy I saw it. So that is not a comment of don't watch this movie. It was a comment of, don't expect to be like, oh, this movie made me feel so good, I want to see it again.
Right. So two schmaltz and one difficult to get through, but great film to watch. I'll have to check it out for sure.
Really wild.
All right. And you're going to have to check us out on social media. So make sure you get over to our Facebook page, Reel to Reel Talk, as well as our Instagram, where you can catch up on past shows and information on what we're watching.
I do want to say one more thing, Sergio. I forgot. I wanted to make one more point.
Sure.
If you want an introduction to Billy Wilder, you've never seen any of his stuff, and you want to start with something he won Best Picture for, start with The Apartment. That's all.
Got it. All right. That's good info to have. So with that in mind, again, keep up with us on social media. We'll start posting. We'll always have posters about the films that we talk about, and additional commentary. As time goes on, you'll see our presence on social media grow, and we'll be sharing a lot more of our thoughts and titles and so forth of the movies we're watching and talking about here on the show. All right, so that brings us to our weekly segments that we love to talk about, and we're going to turn it over to Paul.
Yes.
The segment is called "What the Hell Did I Just Watch?" And as always, I am on pins and needles, Paul, to see what you have this week.
So I tipped my hand a little bit earlier, and I mentioned how I was looking at Ray Milland's filmography, and how in the 70s he started doing movies for paychecks. And I saw that he was in The Thing with Two Heads, which just blew my, like, I didn't realize that was him. And like, that blew my mind. And I was like, oh, that would be so good for What the Hell Did I Just Watch? But I've already seen it. Okay. And I didn't have to go very far to find a different one that he was in for the paycheck. And this one is called Frogs. So... and Sergio, I'm just going to say, cue the movie poster on the screen now. You will see on the movie poster, there's a picture of a frog with a human hand sticking out of it.
Yes.
And how do you not want to watch that movie? I don't know. Like, that is a movie that if you're a human being, you have to watch it. You have to. Like, this, there's no getting around it. And I knew instantly, at the same time, this movie's going to be horrible. And I was so right. So, and even before clicking on Frogs, I knew I was going to do it. But then I clicked on it, and I saw the number 2 build person on the movie, and it's Sam Elliott. So, ladies and gentlemen, you get not just Ray Milland, old Ray Milland, former Academy Award winner, but you get young, hunky Sam Elliott. And he is super young and hunky in this movie, and clearly starting out his career, because he's in a movie called Frogs. So Frogs is about
Frogs?
A group of people, Sam Elliott, not related to them at all. So it's a family and Sam Elliott who end up on an island in, they don't really ever establish, but you can guess it's either Louisiana or Florida, because it's the only place where that would make sense based on where they are. It's like in the middle. It's not like an island like at sea. It's like an island in a swamp, Okay. So why they're building, and they're on this huge plantation mansion. So why they're building a plantation on an island on a swamp, that they don't delve into that at all, surprisingly. And so the wildlife turns on the people on the island and starts to not so much kill them, but cause them to do stupid things where they end up dying. Like for a movie billed as the wildlife turning on people and killing them, it takes a really long time to get to an actual animal killing people. And for a movie called Frogs that features on its poster a hand in the frog's mouth, let me just say there's far less people eating frogs in the movie than you would want. It's even for a shitty movie, it's very disappointing. However, what doesn't disappoint is Sam Elliott. So, for I mean, this movie, is just absolute. How did this get made? Like, it had, so I checked it out. Its budget was more than, $100,000. Like, it had a $2 million budget. How?
$2 million?
Yeah.
Wow.
1970 something. So it's how? It's so infuriating how this movie, like, you could totally make a really good movie about frogs killing people. I feel like,
and they fell short.
it's like, no, this isn't, like, the way people die. It's just like, what? Why? How are you this stupid? So, it turns out, like, in the early 70s, like, there was a there was sort of like this eco-disaster movie genre. Like, there was a subgenre of horror that was eco-disaster in the early 70s that I was completely unaware of. I am not going to explore any further. I've seen frogs. I'm good. But yeah. So,
Nice.
and that's what so this was like nature turning against man, and Ray Milland in this is so good. So, like, he's the patriarch of the family. He's the reason why they have money and a plantation and stuff. And it's his birthday weekend. It's his birthday. It's 4th of July, and by gum, they're gonna have his birthday party. And yeah, so you can imagine it doesn't turn out well for him.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm deadly curious now to watch this movie because
look for it, find it, watch it, and I'll tell you where it is. It is for free on YouTube. You can watch it.
There you go.
So you got to deal with commercials.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, you can do that. And because it's YouTube, you can skip the commercial real quick. It's fine. The placement of the commercials, YouTube needs to pay somebody to go into their movies and, like, actually place the commercial, because it'll be like mid-word, like literally mid-word. They're like, hey, how are you? And then, come check out Geico. You doing that, it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's free, so I'm not going to complain too much.
I'm so glad you brought up the poster, because I'm looking at it, and it's like, literally the tagline for the film is "Today the pond, tomorrow the world." It's the day that nature strikes back.
You're going to see, if you're watching this on a YouTube, you're going to see the poster. If you're listening to it, just go Google Frogs movie poster, and you will understand why
it's worth it.
Why I invested the time, and 100%. I don't regret it for 1 second.
One of these days when we have famous guests on this show, I want to invite Sam Elliott, and we're only going to talk about the frogs. I want to hear about it.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
I'll bring up Big Lebowski for like 5 seconds, and then it's like, but enough of that.
Yeah.
Frog.
Let's get to your master class.
Yes.
Of acting. So, and then we never saw Reel to Reel Talk again.
You clearly were, spent some time with Ray Milland, Oscar winner, and picked his brain, and it shows.
Yeah.
In your computer work. So
Absolutely.
Let's pick your brain. Yeah.
Wow. You continue to bring good stuff. I appreciate it.
I brought the heat this time, my man.
You really did, because the poster alone earns you points.
So good. I love it. It's so good. It's perfect.
The walls behind me are bare, and I bought a bunch of movie posters that I'm going to hang, and now I realize as I see myself on camera that they're not going to be able to be seen. But I almost want to get this poster.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I have to own it now.
I looked that up. You can get it.
Awesome. Fantastic. It's happening. It's happening. I'm going to find a way to position it, like, right here in this little gap that you see. So
it's so good.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, You can find out what other films Paul has brought to the table as he updates on our social media now and then and shares some of the movies. And I can't wait for this poster to go up. So make sure you check out our social media on Facebook and Instagram to hear to see what other films that Paul has brought to the What the Hell Did I Just Watch segment. And let us know what the hell you just watched. What are some films that you've seen that are just out there? And who knows, maybe Paul will take your lead and add that to his list. So
thank you, Ray Milland. Thank you.
Yeah, the treasure that is Ray Milland.
Yes.
All right. Well, that brings us to a segment that will further enlighten us in this day of movies that we've not seen, and that is Suzer finally saw. Susan, I'm always curious. You've added some movies to your list today, for sure.
Yes.
What movie did you complete?
So I didn't know beforehand until I pull up the IMDb when we're talking about the movies that we're going through, and I pull up everybody's as I go along. So my two movies are actually tied together. Both movies were directed by Danny Boyle. This movie is I remember seeing bits and pieces of it, but I had never seen the whole thing. So I think it counts as Susan finally saw. The movie has so many recognizable names, and one of my favorite actors is in here, and I don't know how I hadn't seen this before. It was a 1997 movie called A Life Less Ordinary.
Mm.
Have you both seen this movie?
I have.
Your all's faces.
I love.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. Okay, good, because I really like this movie. So, if you just look at the cast, it's incredible. You have, Ewan McGregor, and he's the, I don't want to say I guess main actor, because he's the main part of the story, but there are other people who you see more, and they kind of outshine him a little bit. So you have Holly Hunter and Delroy Lindo. So in the movie, Ewan McGregor's character is fired, so he accidentally decides to, I don't really know, kidnap the daughter of his former boss. And by the same token, you have these two angels that are supposed to try to find if love still exists on Earth. And it's, you see so many people, Ian Holm is also in the movie briefly, and Cameron Diaz, of course, she plays the daughter of the daughter that is kidnapped. And watching it, she's like, yeah, okay, this happened before. I've been kidnapped before. Whatever, no big deal. And he, of course, Ewan McGregor's never kidnapped anybody before. He has no idea what's going on. So she's like, let me show you how it's done, essentially.
Yeah.
And he's just like, freaking out. I think it was just great the way that all the little segments kind of kept you on the edge of your seat with little what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? I think one of my favorite scenes is when he's digging his own grave.
That's right. Yeah.
He's digging his own grave, and the Jackson is trying to hurry him up, and he's like, he's crying and freaking out, and he's just like, and then something else happens, and he essentially gets saved. So
fascinating.
Well, because I don't know what I could give away, but but it's so, it just, everything together, it was so hilarious the way that everything worked out together. Happy ending ?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. It was good. I liked it a lot. It definitely kept me laughing. It definitely kept me kind of a little bit like, wait, what just happened? Wait, what?
Yeah.
But in a good way. I think it's a good movie. And so yeah, I think that's I think I'm on a Danny Boyle kick now, I guess. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll
Not-
see.
don't do 28 Days Later. I don't think you'll like it.
Oh,
I love that
Oh,
movie, but that movie's
I
not.
love
for me.
it.
Is that the like end of the world thing or
Yes.
Oh,
zombie
yeah.
movie?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I've seen that.
Okay.
Not
Not-
I like that movie. So,
I love that movie too, but
Yeah.
no. Yeah, this is an interesting movie because it was reviled by critics. Like people
It really
did not
was.
like the movie for whatever reason. I loved it. Like at the time, I would have just seen anything with Ewan McGregor. I loved Ewan McGregor. Okay, so like when I saw Ewan McGregor movie, I'm going to go see it, and I loved it. And then I like found out that like people hated it. I'm like, why? Like it's I just love this movie. This is but I'm like so sappy. This movie is a total sap. Yeah. And Holly Hunter's great in it, and it's got Sergio, one of your favorites, Dan Hedaya.
Danadaya.
Benedict,
Yeah.
So
and Stanley Tucci and Tony
Stanley-
Shalhoub.
and
I
Tony.
know.
I mean, the cast is endless. I
Yeah.
mean, Delroy Lindo. I mean,
Roy Lindo. Yeah. I mean,
geez,
yeah. You mentioned
it's a
that.
great film.
Yeah. Yeah.
In
It
fact,
really is.
I remember seeing it the night it came out. There was a long tradition for many years with my wife and I, where every Friday night it was, what's new at the theater. Let's pick a movie. We'd go have dinner, see a film, and this was one of those movies. And I think to myself, it was fun. It's like a fun movie, and great choice. I love this film.
Yeah, it ended up really great, and I'm trying to. I'm trying to remember because this is a movie that I had seen bits and pieces of again beforehand, and never seen the full thing all the way through. I remember bits and pieces of it and going, "What the heck was that movie?" And I know it had Ewan McGregor in it, and I would go through his filmography, and I was like, "It's not this one. It's not this one." So I give up,
Yeah.
And I would never get down all the way down to where I would find that movie and say,
That's the one.
that's the movie, until finally, like, the other night I was like, oh, I've seen this part of this movie, I've seen this, this, that, and the other, and like little things that happen, little things that go back, and it was just kind of like, this is awesome, this is perfect, and then I got to watch it all the way through.
Scene in the bar is my favorite. That's my favorite.
Scene in the bar, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a number of different things that like would come through, and I've seen it, and I would laugh my face off. Is that, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I'm getting confused, but anyway, like, yeah, that's the way that everything played out together, the way that everything went. And one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie is when he's what is he doing when he gets shot. Anyway, never mind, I'll
And
just stop.
it's an old film. It's okay to tell us what
It's
happened.
okay, no, it's fine, I'm mixing things up a little bit. It's gonna be
That's
good.
all right.
Yeah, this movie is very underappreciated. Yeah, but great choice. I love it. So, and where can we find it, Susan, if people are wanting to catch up on it?
So this one is a rental, so you have to rent it on either YouTube or IMDb or Amazon Prime Video. It's like $2.99. I ended up getting it on YouTube because I was doing something else, and I ended up. But yeah, I watched it on YouTube for $2.99.
Definitely worth $3. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely.
Totes.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of another Susan Finally Saw as she continues to work through that list. Of course, for every film you seem to watch, Susan, we add like 3 more. So.
Yep, I'm getting there.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. All right. Well, don't forget, make sure you check out our social media, Facebook and Instagram, Reel to Real Talk, to find out what we're watching. And before we close out, Paul, I have a feeling that you might have some real quick reviews for us.
I do have a real quick review. Palm Springs came out on Hulu. It was a direct to Hulu and Andy Samberg is the main lead. Oh, I should have had it queued up so I could tell you who the actress is, the female actor is, and I don't have it ready. So we're just gonna truck along because it's a real quick review. Amazing. Did either of you get to watch it like I begged you to?
I didn't get to. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's basically Groundhog's Day, but like just funnier and that's possible.
That is a
Like,
bold statement, sir.
I know. Funnier, like a modern day Groundhog's Day.
Gotcha.
A Groundhog's Day for millennials. It is so good. I just check it out. If you have Hulu, check out Palm Springs. These are the kind of movies that need to be supported, and the companies need to be told, make more of these.
Yeah.
Fantastic. J.K. Simmons is
Fantastic.
also in it, and he's fantastic as usual. But yes, there you go.
So I know we're doing real quick. Are we? Can you give us a quick taco rating if you don't know what the taco rating system is?
5 tacos.
Okay. Yeah,
Easy.
I was about to say, for those watching and listening, if you don't know what the 5 taco system is, shame on you. So 5 tacos for Palm Springs. I will definitely check it out. I know I need to make time to do that. But I was too busy watching that classic musical, The Blues Brothers, yesterday. And so
Only people who don't like musicals or don't watch musicals would call Blues Brothers a musical.
Moving
I had to get
on.
that in, Paul. It was too easy. So
Y'all are horrible. I love
oh
it.
man, there's part of me that wishes Paul would have just gotten up and walked away. Like this guy.
I'm gonna wreck it.
I love it. All right. Well, once again, team, it has been a fantastic time talking movies with you guys. I really, really appreciate all that you bring. And if you are watching this for the first time, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Make sure that you go over to YouTube, which is probably where you are since you're watching this. So hit that subscribe button, and also make sure you click on the notification bell so that you know when our videos land week to week. And also, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Yes, I'm pandering for your likes. That's going to help us to really establish our footprint here on YouTube. You can catch us on Facebook as well, where we will be linking to the show. So make sure you comment below if that's where you are, and that's Paul's foot. And so with that, we thank you so much for joining us once again for another episode of Reel to Reel Talk. On behalf of Susan and Paul, thank you so much. We'll see you next time on Reel to Reel. Remember, you're awesome, you're amazing, and the world's a better place because you are in it. Have a great week. We'll see you again soon.